Thank you, Senator Urquhart. Senator Rhiannon.
Thank you, Mr President. Recently in Sydney, I met members of the Rohingya community. The sadness was immense. One man told me that he had just heard that both his brother and his father had been killed. Others were desperate of news of their family and loved ones. Today in this parliament, representatives of the majority of aid groups operating in and around Myanmar provided briefings to MPs. They described an extraordinary situation, a most critical humanitarian emergency that requires a rapid and generous response from the Australian government. I was also disturbed in the context of this violence, and you start to wonder why it is occurring, to learn that Myanmar recently adopted a new law which is very relevant to why the crimes against humanity are occurring. The new law stipulates that land that has been burnt becomes government-managed. Now, half of the Rohingya villages in the north of the Rakhine have been burnt. The burnt land is clearly on its way to being used in some way. And what you then find out is that economic zones are being established in this area. 3 economic zones already exist on land where Rohingyas had lived in the past. Now there is planned for another economic zone that could well explain the reason for one of the world's worst humanitarian disasters. So what we're seeing is ruthless ethnic cleansing. The United Nations Secretary-General, many others have described it in that way. The French president has called it genocide. Clearly that is what is occurring. And now we see that there is a profit motive here. The pattern is that the economic zone is being formed, and it is being formed on the basis of this extreme violence perpetrated against Rohingyas, who then see their land cleared. On September the 1st, the Burmese government announced that the construction of the Mungdao economic zone would start when the current situation in the area has calmed down. I understand it could start quite soon. And the government has selected land as a proposed location for this economic zone, and it will host garment factories, refrigeration units for fish, a fuel station, a commodity and industrial showrooms. Also, offshore oil and gas companies are very interested in this area, and there is an Australian company, Woodside Energy, that is operating, I understand, already there. Clearly, we need to look at this very closely. Is it appropriate that Australian companies, that any companies that are operating on land where there has been ethnic cleansing, there needs to be a lot more work done here to ensure that there is a clear, solid humanitarian response and long-term assistance to resolve this situation. Thank you, Mr President.